And humans were no longer just observers. The silver-gray ship glided through the blackness of space, its hull reflecting distant stars. Jake Turner sat in the cockpit, hands firm on the controls, eyes sharp. The quiet hum of the engines filled the cabin, but there was no peace. Hale had warned them. The galaxy now knew the Emperor was awake, and the fleets that had once been scouts were gathering strength. Laura Bennett monitored the sensors. "Jake, they're coming. It's not just a few ships this time. I count over 50 vessels on the scanner, and more are warping in every minute." Jake swallowed. 50 ships were more than any human fleet could face, but this was no ordinary ship. It had fought empires before. It had survived wars that humans could only imagine. And it trusted them now. Hale sat quietly, studying the screens. They believe they can take this ship. They underestimate it, and you. His voice was calm, but his eyes held the weight of centuries. "Remember, Jake, they are not only looking for me. They want control of the vessel itself. But it will not obey those who are unworthy." Jake nodded. "I get it. We can't let them take it. But how do we fight 50 ships?" Hale smiled faintly. "We don't fight them the way they expect. The ship can do things they cannot imagine. And you have already learned its first secret: unpredictability." As the enemy fleet moved closer, the silver-gray ship seemed to pulse with life. Lights ran along the hull, panels shifting slightly, almost like it was breathing. Jake felt the energy surge beneath him. He had never felt a ship respond like this before. It was listening, waiting, testing him. "Jake," Hale said quietly, "you must trust it completely. It will show you the way." Jake took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this." He pushed the throttle, and the ship jumped forward, disappearing in a flash. The enemy fleet fired blindly, their weapons scattering harmlessly through empty space. The ship weaved between them, twisting and turning, appearing in places no one thought possible. Hale guided them quietly, giving small hints, but it was Jake's decisions that made the maneuvers perfect. Laura watched, her hands trembling. "Jake, it's incredible. They're shooting at nothing." The silver-gray ship's drones moved with precision, disabling weapons, hacking systems, and creating false images of the ship to confuse sensors. Every time a pursuing vessel aimed at them, the ship was already somewhere else. The enemy fleet began to panic, their coordination breaking down. Hale smiled faintly. "They have forgotten one thing. The ship has survived more battles than they can count. It knows how to survive. And now it fights for humans." Jake grinned. "I can't believe this. A scrap ship, and it's teaching us how to fight an entire fleet." Hale nodded. "It is not teaching. It is choosing. It has accepted you." The battle continued for hours. The enemy fleet tried to surround them, to trap them near a massive asteroid field, but the silver-gray ship anticipated every move. Jake used hidden corridors and secret jumps, weaving through the asteroids while the drones disabled engines and communications on the enemy ships. Laura whispered, "Jake, we're actually winning." Hale's eyes shone. "Winning is not the right word. Surviving, yes. But soon we will show them something they will never forget." As the enemy fleet regrouped, Jake noticed a strange signal on the sensors. It was coming from the largest ship, the flagship of the fleet. Hale studied it carefully. "That ship knows me, and it has waited centuries to face me. It believes I am alone." Jake frowned. "You mean they think we're just a human pilot and his crew?" Hale nodded. "Yes, and they are about to learn their mistake. He guided them to a narrow sector of space filled with dense gas clouds. "Here," Hale said, "we will strike." The ship moved silently, almost as if it knew the enemy's thoughts. When the flagship appeared ready to attack, the silver-gray ship emerged from the gas clouds like a ghost, its weapons activated, energy pulses flowing through the air, disabling the flagship's engines before it could fire. The smaller ships around it began to panic, unable to respond to the sudden destruction of their leader. Jake's heart raced. "This is amazing. We're doing it." Hale nodded, but his voice was calm. "This is only the beginning. The ship will now take control. Watch carefully." The ship moved with purpose, drones flying ahead to disable weapons, shields bending light to confuse sensors, engines appearing in multiple places at once. It was no longer just a machine. It was a commander, a general, a living weapon. "Jake, it's alive." Hale smiled faintly. "And it has chosen you, Jake. That is why it fights with you, not against you. That is why it obeys commands that it would never follow from anyone else." For the next hour, they destroyed or disabled the enemy ships without a single human casualty. The fleet scattered, fleeing in all directions. The silver-gray ship pulsed with energy, almost as if it were alive and proud of its victory. Jake laughed, exhaustion and adrenaline mixing together. "We did it. We actually did it." Hale turned to him. "Yes. And now it is time for the final truth." Jake and Laura looked at him. "Final truth?" Jake asked. Hale nodded. "I am not only a former emperor. I am the rightful ruler of the galaxy. But I do not wish to reclaim it by force. I wish to restore balance, and I wish to do so with humans as allies, not subjects." Laura blinked. "Humans? Allies? You mean bare-bowed?" "You're giving us power?" Hale nodded. "Yes." Bought for scrap, the alien ship's ex-owner was secretly the Galactic Emperor. Jake Turner wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the crowded hangar. The smell of oil, metal, and burnt wires filled the air. All around him, humans and aliens were shouting over each other, bidding on scrap ships and old star parts. It was a noisy, chaotic place, but for Jake, it was home. He had spent most of his life fixing old ships and selling them for parts, barely making enough to survive. Today, he hoped to find something that could finally change his luck. He stopped at a long line of damaged ships, each one looking worse than the last. Most of them had peeling paint, broken engines, or missing wings. The largest ship in the row caught his eye. It was long, silver-gray, and covered in dents. The hull looked ancient, scratched from old battles. Its shape was elegant, but something about it made Jake curious. He had never seen a ship like it before. A sign hung on the ship's side: Lot 47. Unknown origin. System sealed. Sold as scrap. The words didn't bother Jake. To him, unknown meant there could be something valuable inside. He nudged the ship with his boot. It didn't move much. Its engines were dead, and the outer panels looked thick and strong. If it worked, it could be more than just scrap. It could be a ship that no one else dared touch. The auction began. Aliens with long arms and sharp eyes called out numbers, raising bids faster than Jake could follow. People around him threw gestures and yelled, trying to confuse each other. Most ignored the silver-gray ship. It had no history, no name, and no papers. Everyone thought it was worthless, but Jake didn't. He felt a strange pull toward it, almost like the ship was waiting for him. When the auctioneer called the final lot, Jake raised his hand. "I'll take it," he said. His voice shook slightly. Everyone turned to look at him. A few laughed. "I am Hale. I am the emperor who was lost. But I have returned not to rule, but to protect. You will not harm humans. You will not take this ship, and you will respect its new masters." The enemy flagship faltered, scanning for the source of the command. The fleets hesitated, confused. The humans had shown skill, courage, and control, and the silver-gray ship had proven it could not be taken by force. Jake turned to Laura. "We did it. We really did it." Laura smiled, tears in her eyes. "We survived and we won." Hale placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. The galaxy will remember today, and humans will have a place among the stars. The ship is no longer just mine. It belongs to all who are brave enough to command it with honor." The silver-gray ship pulsed with light, almost as if it were alive and celebrating. Jake realized something incredible. They had not just survived. They had changed the course of the galaxy. Over the next weeks, Hale worked to restore alliances, protect colonies, and prevent wars before they began. Humans, led by Jake, Laura, and Hale, became respected partners in the galaxy. The silver-gray ship, once thought to be scrap, became a symbol of hope, courage, and intelligence. Jake looked at the stars from the ship's deck, thinking of everything that had happened. They had started with a simple auction, a gamble on a scrap ship, and now they were part of something much larger. A galaxy that had finally realized that humans were not weak and that courage, intelligence, and loyalty could shape entire worlds. Laura stood beside him. "Who would have thought a scrap ship would change everything?" Jake smiled. "Not just the ship. Us too. We proved ourselves. We're part of this now." Hale joined them, looking out at the endless stars. "And the galaxy is watching. Let it remember, humans are here, and they will never be underestimated again." The silver-gray ship glowed softly under the starlight. It had survived battles, betrayed fleets, and centuries of time. But now it had found new masters, humans who were brave, clever, and willing to risk everything. And for the first time in centuries, Hale smiled fully, knowing the galaxy was in good hands. And so the story ended not with destruction, but with hope, courage, and a new beginning. The humans had bought a ship for scrap, and in doing so had claimed their place among the stars.
"Are you sure?" one bidder asked. "That thing is junk." Jake didn't answer.
He just nodded. He had no money, but he had enough saved to take this gamble. A few minutes later, the auctioneer hammered the gavel. "Sold. Lot 47 goes to the human, Jake Turner," the crowd murmured. Some clapped. Some shook their heads. Jake smiled, though his heart raced. He had just bought a ship no one wanted, and he had no idea why. Jake and his mechanic, Laura Bennett, pushed the ship into a quiet bay. Laura, a tall woman with brown hair tied in a ponytail, frowned. "Jake, are you crazy? That ship could be a disaster. It's sealed tight. We don't even know what's inside. We might not be able to fix it." Jake shrugged. "Maybe, maybe not. But look at it, Laura. It's huge, solid, and it's got something inside. I can feel it." Laura crossed her arms. "Feeling? Jake, this isn't a feeling contest. This is money, time, and risk. We barely get jobs as it is. What if it explodes the first time we turn it on?" Jake laughed. "Then we'll have an exciting funeral." Laura rolled her eyes, but she followed him anyway. They had done stranger things before, and Jake's confidence made her curious. They spent hours examining the ship. Its hull was smooth but had hidden dents and scratches that showed it had fought battles before. The entrance was sealed with a strange metal door. Jake ran his fingers along the edges. "It's old," he said, "but strong. Whoever built this knew what they were doing." Laura found a small control panel near the door. "Look at this," she said. "It's not human. The symbols are weird. I don't recognize them." Jake smiled. "Exactly." He tried pressing a few buttons. Nothing happened. Then he tapped a panel that looked like a sensor. The ship hummed softly. A faint light blinked inside the panel. "Well, did you hear that?" Laura asked, her eyes wide. The ship had never made a sound before. Now it hummed like it was waking up. Jake's pulse quickened. "Yeah. Something's inside. Let's see if we can open it." They spent another hour trying different codes and methods to unlock the door. Nothing worked. Finally, Jake used an old hacking tool he had built himself. The tool emitted a low buzz, scanning the ship's systems. Suddenly, the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the ship was dark and quiet. The air smelled old, like a long abandoned room. Jake switched on a flashlight. The light reflected off sleek walls, glowing faintly in green and silver. The interior was unlike anything he had seen. Panels of unknown materials lined the walls. Strange symbols glowed faintly, and the controls were smooth, almost alive. In the center, a large stasis pod rested on a pedestal. A figure lay inside, wrapped in silver fabric. Laura stepped back. "Jake, what is that?" she whispered. Jake walked closer, his curiosity stronger than his fear. "I don't know, but I think it's important." He pressed a small button on the pod. The lights around it blinked, and a soft hiss came from inside. The figure stirred. Slowly, very slowly, the pod opened. A man sat up, his hair silver and his eyes calm but sharp. He looked around, then smiled faintly. Ah, I see I have new companions," the man said in a deep, quiet voice. "Thank you for waking me." Jake and Laura froze. Who are you?" Jake stammered. The man's eyes scanned them carefully. "My name is Hale," he said. "I was lost, adrift in time and space. It seems fortune has guided me to you." Laura shook her head. "Drifted? Adrift? Jake, this is crazy." But Jake felt a strange sense of trust. The man seemed calm, wise, and dangerous all at once. Hale climbed out of the pod. He stretched carefully, like someone who had been asleep for a long time. "This vessel
Is more than it seems. It is
old, very old, and it contains knowledge that many would kill to reclaim." Jake frowned. "Knowledge? What kind of knowledge?" Hale smiled faintly. "Maps, weapons, secrets of a time when empires ruled galaxies. But do not worry.
You are not in danger yet.
You have only just woken me," Laura whispered. "Jake, he sounds like trouble." Jake looked at Hale and shook his head. "I don't know, Laura. I think he might be the key." For the next few hours, they explored the ship with Hale. The ship's AI began speaking in strange melodic tones. It recognized Hale, calling him Commander, and asking for authorization. Jake and Laura exchanged shocked glances. "Did that thing just call him Commander?" Jake asked. Hale nodded slowly. "Yes, it remembers. It remembers me." Laura's eyes widened. "Remembered him? What does that mean?" Hale smiled faintly. "It means that I am not who I appear to be. I was once someone very important, someone whose orders shaped the stars themselves." He looked at Jake and Laura, but that was a long time ago. Now, I am just Hale. Jake's mind raced. He didn't fully understand, but he could feel the weight of the moment. He had bought a ship for scrap, and inside it was a man who clearly knew things no one else could. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was fate. Either way, Jake's life had just become much more interesting. As night fell in the hangar, other humans and aliens were leaving, unaware of the secret awakening in Lot 47. Outside, small ships passed by. Cargo shuttles, patrol cruisers. None noticed that in a quiet bay, a human salvage pilot, his mechanic, and a mysterious silver-haired man were standing on the deck of a ship that had not seen the light of day in decades. A ship that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Hale wandered to the cockpit and touched the controls lightly. They hummed to life. Lights flashed along the dashboard, showing star charts and unknown symbols. This ship is old, yes, but it is alive, and it is waiting for something, Hale said softly. He looked at Jake. "Are you ready to see what it can do?" Jake swallowed hard. I guess we have no choice, do we?" Laura muttered. "I still think this is insane, but okay, let's see what happens." The three of them spent the night exploring the ship's systems. They found weapons that seemed inactive, engines that were silent, and hidden compartments filled with tools and data drives. Each discovery made the ship feel more alive, like it was testing them, seeing if they were worthy to command it. When dawn came, Jake stood at the deck's railing and looked out at the stars. He felt a strange excitement. For years he had dreamed of finding a ship like this, but he never imagined it would come with a man like Hale and secrets that could shake the galaxy. He knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. As they prepared to leave the hangar, Hale's voice echoed softly through the ship.
We are not safe here. Others are watching.
The moment I woke, signals were sent. "Be ready." Jake looked at Laura, then back at Hale. "Looks like our luck just got a lot more complicated." Laura nodded. "And dangerous." The ship's engines roared to life for the first time in decades, shaking the bay. Lights glowed along its hull, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was no longer a scrap ship. It was alive, and it was waiting for its crew to take flight. The first stars of the evening appeared as Jake Turner guided the silver-gray ship away from the hangar. The engines hummed steadily, vibrating through the deck. The ship moved faster than Jake had ever flown before. Even though it was old and looked damaged, its power was incredible. Every light on the control panel blinked with purpose, and Hale watched quietly, as if remembering something long forgotten. Laura Bennett leaned over the console, examining the ship's systems.
"Jake, these engines are amazing. They're far beyond anything humans can build."
"And these controls, they almost read your mind." She shook her head. "I don't even understand half of this stuff." Jake smiled. "That's the point. We've got something no one else has. something special. He pushed a lever, and the ship shot through space, leaving the hangar lights behind. Hale walked slowly down the hallway, his hands brushing the walls. The ship remembers everything. Its systems, its paths, even old battles. It will follow orders, but only if it trusts the crew. He stopped near the cockpit and looked at Jake. "And it is already testing you." Jake frowned. "Testing me?" Hale nodded. "Yes, every ship has a consciousness, though most humans cannot feel it. This ship is different. It is alive, in a way you cannot imagine. It has seen fleets rise and fall, empires conquered and destroyed. You will need to be careful." Laura rolled her eyes, but did not argue. She had seen strange things before, but this ship was something else. Every panel, every screen, every light seemed almost alive. "I don't know if we're ready for this," she said softly. "We don't have a choice," Jake replied. "We can't go back now. Someone will come looking for it."
And whoever comes, they won't care that it's just a scrap ship.
For the next few hours, they explored the ship's hidden compartments. Hale guided them to a small room with glowing maps. Stars and planets were marked in bright colors. "These are routes," Hale explained. "Secret routes used by fleets long ago. They are known only to those in power and those who have been erased from history." Jake walked along the maps, touching the glowing lines. "These are real?" Hale nodded. "Yes, and these maps show places no one is supposed to know about. Resources, weapons depots, colonies, and some routes to worlds controlled by old factions." Laura frowned. "Old factions? Do you mean dangerous?" Hale's eyes darkened. "Extremely. There are groups who have waited decades to reclaim this ship. And now it is awake. They will come for it." The warning was quiet, but Jake felt a chill. He had bought a ship for scrap, expecting maybe some parts or a little money. He never thought it would bring enemies. Not yet, anyway. Suddenly a soft chime echoed through the ship. The panels lit up with green lines, forming shapes that looked like symbols. Hale walked to the nearest screen. "They are sending a signal," he said. "Someone recognizes the ship in me." Jake leaned over the console. "Who? Who would care about an old ship?" Hale's face turned serious. "Powerful people. People who ruled entire star systems. People who will kill to reclaim what belongs to them." Laura gulped. "We can't fight them. Not with what we have." Hale smiled faintly. "We don't need to fight them yet. But we need to move fast. The ship can hide, but only if we understand it. And that will take time." Jake nodded. "All right, step one. Let's figure out what it can do." The ship seemed to respond to his words, lights flickering across the panels. Jake tried moving the controls, testing the engines and navigation. It was easy, almost too easy. The ship felt like it was listening to him, responding to his thoughts more than his hands. Hale watched with interest. "Humans are unique," Hale said softly. "We never expected one of your kind to find me or this ship. But now, you are here, and that changes everything." Jake looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Who are you really?" Hale shook his head. "Not yet. First, survive." As they traveled further into space, Jake, Laura, and Hale began to test the ship's hidden abilities. Hale showed them small things at first. A sensor that could detect ships hundreds of kilometers away. A small weapons system that could disable engines without destroying ships. and drones that could repair the ship on their own. Laura watched the drones as they moved silently along the hull. This is insane.
They're repairing themselves?
Hale nodded. Yes. This ship has survived battles that destroyed entire fleets. It was built for power, speed, and survival. And now, it is ours, if we can master it. For the next few days, they practiced flying through asteroid fields and small patrol zones, avoiding detection. Hale guided Jake through maneuvers the ship remembered from past wars. It knows the best paths, Hale explained. It can predict danger before it happens, but you must trust it, and it must trust you. Jake learned quickly. The ship was fast, agile, and precise. Laura used her mechanical knowledge to understand some of the systems, but most of it was beyond her comprehension. Yet the three of them worked together, slowly becoming a team. Then came the first sign of danger. While passing through a narrow sector near a mining colony, the ship's sensors detected an approaching fleet. It was small, maybe half a dozen ships, but their markings were unfamiliar. Hale's face grew serious. They know. Someone has sent them to check. We must hide. Jake gripped the controls. Hide? Where? Hale pointed to a small cloud of asteroids ahead. The ship can slip inside without being seen. Follow my instructions exactly. They entered the asteroid field. The ship moved silently, weaving through massive rocks. The pursuing ships tried to follow but struggled. The silver-gray ship seemed to anticipate the moves of its enemies. Jake's heart raced. This is incredible! It's like the ship knows the future. Hale nodded. In a way, it does. The pursuing fleet finally gave up, disappearing behind the asteroids. Jake exhaled slowly. That was too close. Laura's hands were shaking. Jake, this isn't just a scrap ship. We're in the middle of something we don't understand. Hale nodded. You are correct. We are being watched. And this is only the beginning. Once the signal has been traced, more will come. They will not stop until they have the ship and me. Jake's mind raced. Why would anyone care about him or this ship so much? We just bought it at an auction? Hale smiled faintly. Because it is not just a ship, it is a key. A key to power, secrets, and history. And I am not a simple man. Laura shook her head. Jake, this is insane. We just wanted a scrap ship, not a galactic war. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder. I know, Laura, but now we can't run. We have to survive, learn, and maybe control it. Over the next week, they explored the ship even more. Hale guided them to hidden rooms filled with strange devices and ancient data drives. Some stored knowledge of star systems, old wars, and secret alliances. Others contained technology humans had never seen, like engines that could bend space slightly and shields that could absorb energy. Jake touched one of the data drives carefully. This is amazing. If we could understand it, humans could jump centuries ahead. Hale smiled faintly. And that is why they will come. Knowledge is dangerous in the wrong hands. One evening, while the ship drifted near an uninhabited planet, a small communication signal blinked on the console. It was encrypted, but Hale recognized it immediately. They are reaching out. They know I am awake, and they want the ship back. Jake frowned. Who are they? Hale's eyes darkened. They are remnants of the old empires. war fleets that survived centuries in secret. They have waited for this moment. They will not negotiate. They will demand. Laura's face went pale. So, what do we do? We can't fight them. Hale nodded. We can hide. We can run. And we can use the ship's abilities. But we must also learn. This ship can protect us, but only if we understand it. For the next few hours, Hale taught them how to read the ship's signals and control its hidden systems. Drones, weapons, navigation, sensors, all of it had to be mastered. The ship was like a living creature. It responded to commands but also tested them. Sometimes it would ignore instructions until it approved them. Jake realized something important. The ship was not just a tool. It was alive. It remembered its past, its battles, and its masters. Hale had been one of them. 5. But now, the ship seemed to recognize Jake as someone it could trust. It was forming a bond. By the end of the week, Jake, Laura, and Hale had learned enough to leave the asteroid field safely. They were no longer just a pilot, a mechanic, and a mysterious man in stasis. They were a crew, a team, and they were being watched. Jake looked at the stars, thinking of the dangers ahead. We bought a scrap ship, and now it feels like we bought a whole galaxy with it. Hale smiled faintly. A galaxy? Yes. But remember, Jake, it is not the ship that chooses its master. It is the master who must prove himself worthy. Laura shook her head. I don't know if I am worthy. I just want to survive. Hale looked at her. Survival is only the first step. What comes next is power, knowledge, and decisions that will change everything. As the silver-gray ship glided silently through space, Jake realized that their adventure had just begun. They had unlocked a ship no one had dared touch, and now the galaxy was taking notice. Somewhere, distant fleets were moving, signals were being sent, and powerful people were waking up to the fact that the lost ship was alive, and human hands held its controls. Jake gripped the console. Whatever comes,
We face it together. Laura nodded.
Hale watched silently, his eyes thoughtful. The ship pulsed beneath them, alive and waiting. It seemed to approve. And far across the stars, something old and powerful stirred. The silver-gray ship moved silently through a dark section of space, weaving between asteroids and empty debris. Jake Turner sat in the cockpit, his hands steady on the controls, but his mind was restless. The ship was fast and precise, far beyond any human design, but every new jump into unknown space made him uneasy. Laura Bennett worked alongside him, monitoring the ship's energy and systems. Jake, something feels off, she said. We haven't seen anyone for a while, but I keep thinking we're being followed. Hale sat behind them, calm as ever. His silver hair shone faintly in the cockpit lights. You are correct, he said. They know we are here. The fleet sent after us are small, scouts, but they will report our position to others. Soon, larger forces will come, and when they do, they will expect to take the ship by force. Jake frowned. By force? Are we supposed to fight fleets we can't even see yet? Hale nodded. Perhaps, but there are ways to avoid a direct fight. This ship is more than just metal and engines. It is intelligence, memory, and strategy, and it will protect those it trusts. Laura shook her head. I still don't get it. Why are they chasing you? And why would a human like me even matter? Hale's eyes met hers. Because humans are unpredictable. The galaxy has not seen your kind fight with creativity, and that is dangerous to some people. Jake adjusted the throttle, feeling the ship respond like a living thing. It was aware of him, and perhaps even reading his thoughts. Okay, so we can avoid them for now. But for how long? They'll keep coming. Hale leaned back, his gaze distant. They are preparing, waiting for the right moment. And I must be careful. They will recognize me soon, not just as Hale, but as what I truly am. Jake's stomach tightened. What do you mean? Hale hesitated, then spoke quietly. I was once the Galactic Emperor, the ruler of countless worlds, fleets, and systems. But betrayal forced me into exile. This ship was my personal flagship, and now, by some chance, it has returned to me through you. Laura's jaw dropped. Emperor? Are you serious? Hale nodded. Yes. I led empires, won battles, and shaped the fate of millions, but power always attracts envy, and envy led to betrayal. The palace was taken, my allies destroyed or scattered. I disappeared, leaving only the ship and its secrets. Jake stared at Hale in disbelief. So all this time, you were an emperor, hiding in a stasis pod inside a scrap ship? Hale's lips curled into a small smile. Exactly. And now, you have awakened me. And by doing so, you have put yourself in the middle of a galaxy-wide struggle. Laura crossed her arms, trying to calm herself. Jake, why didn't you tell me this guy was a former emperor? We're already risking our lives, and now we're sitting on someone who could start a war.
Jake shrugged. I didn't know either, Laura.
But if he's telling the truth, this ship and him are worth protecting. We can't just hand it over. Hale's smile faded. No, we cannot.
They will come with fleets that outnumber anything you've seen. But this ship
will not allow them to take it easily. But there's a way to survive, if we are clever. Over the next few hours, Hale guided Jake and Laura through the ship's hidden combat systems. The weapons were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Energy cannons that could disable multiple ships at once, drones that could patrol independently, and shields that could bend light and energy. Hale explained slowly, teaching them how to control the systems, how to hide the ship's signature, and how to trick sensors. Jake felt a strange thrill. For the first time in his life, he was not just a salvage pilot, he was a commander, learning tactics that had won wars across the galaxy. Laura, though nervous, began to understand the ship as well. She realized it was alive, and that it respected those who could operate it intelligently. Their first test came sooner than expected. While approaching a quiet star system, the ship's sensors detected an incoming fleet. This time, it was larger than before. About 20 scout ships, moving in formation. Hale's eyes narrowed. They found us faster than I expected. We must act quickly. Jake gripped the controls. What do we do? Hale pointed to a narrow field of small asteroids. We will hide. Let the ship guide you. It knows the paths where larger ships cannot follow, but it will require precision. The ship shot forward, weaving through the asteroid field with incredible speed. Lights flashed as sensors scanned each rock and crevice. The pursuing fleet tried to follow but got stuck or damaged their hulls on hidden asteroids. The silver-gray ship moved like a shadow, anticipating the enemy's every move. Laura watched from the secondary console. It's like it knows what they're thinking. Hale nodded. In a way, it does. It remembers battles from centuries ago. It can predict patterns, detect weaknesses, and exploit them. But it will only follow those it trusts, and it is learning to trust you, Jake. Jake exhaled. I still can't believe this. A ship that thinks like a general. And it's ours. Hale's expression grew serious. It is not yours to own, Jake. It is yours to prove yourself worthy. And so far, you have done well. After the fleet disappeared, Hale led them to a nearby asteroid base, abandoned centuries ago. We need to repair minor damage and recharge. The next attacks will not be so forgiving. Inside the base, they discovered storage rooms with old supplies, hidden engines, and even a small arsenal of ancient weapons. Hale showed them how to integrate the base's energy into the ship's systems. This will allow us to remain mobile and hidden, but we must move carefully. Every signal we send can be traced. Jake spent the next several hours testing the ship's engines, practicing maneuvers, and running drills with Laura. They began to feel more confident. The ship responded almost instinctively to their commands. It was alive, yes, but it was also loyal. Hale sat quietly, observing them. You are learning fast, but knowledge alone will not save you. You must also understand strategy. The galaxy is full of those who will exploit mistakes, greed, and fear. We must be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than they expect. Jake frowned. So what's the plan? We can't just hide forever. Hale's eyes sparkled faintly. No, we cannot. But we can strike first. The ship remembers targets, routes, and weaknesses. We will use that knowledge. And when the time comes, I will show you the true power of this vessel. Before Jake could ask what he meant, a new alert blinked on the console. Another fleet had been detected, larger, faster, and better armed than before. Hale's face darkened. They are coming. The moment has arrived. You must act now, Jake, and the ship will follow your decisions, if they are worthy. Jake gripped the controls tightly. All right, let's do it. The silver-gray ship shot forward, disappearing into the shadows of a nearby nebula. The pursuing fleet followed, unaware of the traps and maneuvers ahead. Hale guided them silently, his voice calm but firm.
Use the nebula to mask your movements. They will lose sensors in the dense gas.
And remember, the ship will respond to your instincts as well. Jake felt a strange confidence. He had learned the ship's movements, its responses, and its limits. As they moved through the nebula, he realized they could outmaneuver ships that should have been faster, stronger, and smarter. The enemy fleet fired blindly into the nebula, their weapons scattering harmlessly. The silver-gray ship moved like a shadow, striking only when necessary, disabling engines and communications, then disappearing before the enemy could respond. Laura whispered, "Jake, it's incredible. We're winning without actually fighting." Hale nodded. That is the advantage of intelligence. The ship remembers, predicts, and adapts. You are learning to work with it as a partner. Hours later, after evading the enemy fleet completely, the ship emerged from the nebula. Jake, Laura, and Hale were exhausted but alive. The ship's systems hummed quietly, as if satisfied. Hale turned to Jake. You did well. The ship trusts you now. And so do I. But this is only the beginning. Larger forces will come. More enemies will arrive. And soon the galaxy will realize that the Emperor is awake, and humans are at the helm of his ship. Jake swallowed. So they're not going to stop? Hale shook his head. No. But now we have time. Time to prepare, learn, and strike. before they are ready. And when we do, humans will show them a side of the galaxy they have never imagined. Laura looked at Jake. So what now? We just keep running? Hale smiled faintly.
No.
Now we begin to take control. The ship is more than a vessel. It is power. And with it, you can shape your own destiny if you are brave enough to take it. Jake stared at the stars ahead, feeling the weight of responsibility. The ship had chosen them, and they had accepted the challenge. Hale had revealed part of his true identity, and the first fleets had come and gone. But Jake knew the real struggle was only beginning. The galaxy was awake. The Emperor was awake. You saved this ship, you proved yourself worthy, and you learned its secrets. Now,
You can help shape the future. Jake felt a chill.
you mean the galaxy is ours to help govern? Hale smiled. Not to rule, to guide, to protect. Humans have shown creativity, courage, and resilience, qualities the galaxy has forgotten. And now, it is time to recognize that. Suddenly, the ship pulsed again, lights running along its hull. Hale placed his hand on the console. The fleets will return. They will come in greater numbers. But the galaxy now knows one truth. Humans are not weak. And the silver gray ship is no longer just a relic. It is a symbol. Jake nodded.
I understand.
We fight, not to conquer, but to survive and protect. Hale's eyes gleamed.
Exactly. And soon others will see the value of partnership.
The galaxy will not forget this day. The following days were filled with preparation. Hale taught Jake and Lara how to send false signals, how to repair the ship instantly, and how to communicate across long distances. Small human colonies began to notice the ship, sending messages of support. The silver gray ship became more than a weapon. It became a beacon. Then came the final test. A massive fleet, hundreds of ships strong, appeared on the sensors. They were organized, armed with advanced weapons, and ready to destroy anything in their path. Hale looked at Jake calmly. This is the moment.
The fleets believe they can take the ship. And me.
But they do not understand one thing. It fights for humans now. Jake gripped the controls. Let's show them! The ship surged forward, weaving through the enemy formation with impossible speed. Drones disabled weapons, shields bent light, and engines moved as if the ship was in multiple places at once. The enemy fleet fired endlessly, but nothing hit the silver gray ship. Hale stepped forward, his voice strong and commanding. Attention, fleets of the galaxy!